Well, I think it goes down to the basics. To start with, we're challenged with a whole new set of issues in terms of, the whole challenge of new media, etc. It's about going back to basics and really looking at the foundations of the business, getting that right, becoming ruthlessly efficient in terms of production and workflow, then looking at how we can add these new services to the business. But more than that, it's not just about adding services, it's really thinking about how we create a new business. In a digital age, we've got all these tools to use, and we need a completely new approach, a new kind of mindset to what it means to be a print company and how we can put print really at the center of all these services.
Yeah, you talk a lot about putting the customer, looking at the customer's destination, which is a fascinating analogy that you used. Could you just talk a little bit about that? I found that really interesting.
Yeah, well, essentially, I mentioned in the presentation, talking about planes and destinations, that essentially printers generally talk about product. They talk about brochures, they talk about flyers, they talk about all the things that they do. And actually the customer is interested in what that does for their business. So it's really not thinking about product or the plane, it's about the plane is just a vehicle to get there. And the analogy was that essentially that relates to kind of brochures and flyers, etc. And we can talk about web to print as a new technology, but to a customer, that's just an A380 as opposed to a 747. So it's really focusing on what the customer is trying to achieve, the pains that he's got in his business, and how we can apply print and these services to really provide a solution to that.
But it is dangerous stuff, as you say. There's a lot of investment demanded to do this. How can you be sure that you really understand and can predict a customer's destination in such a fast-moving world?
Well, here's another element that printers are not great at looking at, and it's market intelligence, it's business intelligence. So actually tracking the vertical markets that you operate in, looking at your customers, the markets they're in, their competitors, and getting some real intelligence about what's happening. I actually gave an example of the software and gaming industry. That had been a booming industry for like 10 or 15 years, and within 18 months it had all gone into the cloud. Unless you're really understanding and predicting what's happening in the markets, there can be some really nasty surprises out there. So I think printers have really got to get out of the silo mentality and really start thinking more strategically about the future and what's going on around them.
It's a big ask though, isn't it? You're really asking people to be, kind of Mervyn King and the Delphic Oracle all at once. It's quite a difficult...
Well, it is, but going back to, people need to do the difficult things. You don't get paid for the easy stuff these days. And the whole point is, once you have a process for that in your business, once you get used to collecting that information, really looking at how it works and how it informs your sales and marketing strategy, actually business becomes a lot easier.
So you gave a couple of, one particular example which I really into about with the music business, a customer who had an idea, and can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's basically an American musician who does industrial music, so not something that would be hugely popular. But what he actually did was gave music away on his website that people could download for free, and they would leave their email address. So he could make personal contact with people who really enjoyed his music. He also used file sharing sites to upload the music so people could actually share it amongst other people. But what he actually did was start creating a community of people that liked what he did. And that community grew. And it's the fact that it isn't regional. You can have people who like what you do in all four corners of the globe, all over the place. And then it's being able to connect with them with products and services they're really going to like. And the proof was in the pudding from the case study that, he actually got over $1 million worth of sales in just over a week. So it is possible to grow a completely new business, but we just need a completely new...
What? That was the interesting thing. Sales of what?
Well, it was the deluxe edition of what he produced, which actually had 3 printed books, and it was actually a limited edition copy that was personally signed and numbered, and there was only 2,500 of them. So he created some scarcity, but actually had a high value product that people who liked what he did would actually buy. And it's just a new way of building a business completely.
So really what you were saying in that is that, you know, you can give stuff away, a digital thing or whatever, or an MP3 file, but it has no flavor to it. But then you can create value around what people want.
Yes.
In the digital world is analog product.
Yeah. But again, the key to this is actually creating the audience. It's engaging the audience on a personal one-to-one level, finding out what they want and being able to supply that to them.
What do you get out of Dscoop? What's the real value, do you think? Why have, you know, you're obviously very enthusiastic about it and passionate about it. What's it doing for you? And
basically getting in front of print. I've been in print for 34 years. I'm still passionate about it. I see enormous opportunity in print, and it's just being with a community of people who feel the same way about print, who are looking to grow their business, take on these new opportunities, and see the kind of excitement about it. And it's just a great atmosphere to be in. And personally, if you can contribute to that and put something back, I think it's a great thing to do. I mean, essentially, yes, there's risk and reward in everything. And the point is it's mitigating that risk. If you've done your business intelligence, you've planned successfully for what you're doing, you understand what your customers want, actually quite often there's very little risk in doing these things because you're developing services, there's pent-up demand for what you're doing. As long as you're focusing on the right marketing and sales approach for that, actually you can take a lot of risk out of this. It's not quite as risky and onerous as people would think, actually.
I think, would you like to just sum up with a closing message to these people?
It's been a fantastic event. I've enjoyed it. I think there's a great deal of content that people can get out of the Dscoop event. And it's really sharing ideas. It's really giving people the opportunity to just take away things and really think about them, think about what it means for their business, and really give people some ideas that they can take back in the business that are practical, and think about whether they need to change or not. At the end of the day, you know, it's up to individuals what they do with things, but I'm getting the sense people are really responsive and ready for change and ready to take on those challenges.